What a day it has already been. I guess I could start this off by with a quick recap. So I went to my usual Starbucks, the one that is not that far a drive from my place of residence, and I got into my typical spot on the side of the building and fired up the Wi-Fi, ready to go. And then all of a sudden, I noticed that I'm not seeing the pop-up that usually occurs when it tells you you're now connected. Your device will automatically log in here, etc., etc. And I try in vain to get this thing to appear. I even turn off the whole device because that's one of the things that they say on their site is sometimes what you have to do just to get access to their Wi-Fi, and it does not work. So I decide after probably another 10 minutes of fiddling around with the thing to go over to another Starbucks. Um, then when I pulled up, I came to this one. I actually pulled up on in the wrong um I guess you could say part of the place where they don't they it's so interesting how they have like one entrance and exit and you have to pull through there to get in, and I went on the direction that was like the other side because I thought you could go there was some other way to also access it. So after many moments of delay and irritation, we have finally arrived at the beginning of our stream, and gotta tell you, it's been a very eventful week. There's been a lot of insanity, a lot of interviews. This is actually, I think, the first week since back in April where I had 4 interviews in the span of 5 days. Um, it was jam packed with go this place, speak to this person, get a call here, talk to them there. Also, I'm noticing a strong correlation between places that are very far away, like a pretty absurd driving distance of 40, 50, 60 miles, and they sound as if they actually want you, whereas people that are close to you are just like whatever, to where it's almost like a running gag where the further away the job is from where I stay, then the higher the chances they're going to actually follow through or seem semi interested. Even though, like I said, I've long since stopped getting excited about being hired somewhere because once you get hired by two, three different places and then they get rid of you after a few weeks or a month, the novelty of, ooh, someone picked me, it wears off. It starts to run thin. But yeah, the first place was this delivery driver position. And when I came there, doors are locked. I call the main guy because that was what I was instructed to do when I get there. I'm trying to make sure that he knows I'm here on time so that they don't think, oh, you're late or something. So I go into the building with the instruction of this other worker. They give me a vest to wear, which I think is really weird because I'm dead serious when I say this, out of all the interviews I've ever had, I've never seen one where you have to put on a vest just to do the interview. Like usually you get any type of stuff you get from the job, it's after they hire you, not before. So that was weird, but I go, okay, I say, okay, whatever. I just roll my eyes and and don't even like try to question it. Just go along with it because maybe I don't know they're very serious about people or so. I don't know. So they give me the vest. Me and this other person are there. They explain the position and sort of just kind of ask me some basic questions. Tell me I'll hear back from them the next day. If I get hired, of course, I hear nothing back, so you know how that turned out. The next day, I have an interview with it is a, I hate group interviews so much. That's one of the most obnoxious things to me when you have to sit in a squad or team of people and the person is talking to just a room. It's almost like being in a classroom again, just from the number of people that are typically there on these stupid Zoom calls. But it's some kind of program, whatever. And after that happens, and I don't even think I spoke that much because it's just them running down what the job is. Now they have all these positions that are available, etc., etc. I see an email that says you have been hired, and then they start listing all the different things that they want me to have, and one of them is my a copy of my high school diploma. And this is the second employer I've seen where they've requested that. Of course, they don't tell you they need that before you start working for them. It's only after they decide to hire you or claim they're hiring you that they put up all these different things they want you to have. So, um, in my past experience with being asked of for a copy of that, um, I was advised to get my transcripts from my previous high school. And my biggest issue with this is that when I spoke to the school or called up to school myself, they told me I would need to call up some number and then they would have to mail it to me. And that could take anywhere between several days to several weeks. So I asked this lady who's supposedly hired me, hey, how long do I have to get all these documents? And she will not answer. She won't answer a point blank question about how long does a person have to get this stuff that you guys say you need before you'll proceed with his employment? Because what I would hate to have happen is to basically go out of my way to retrieve documents that I don't need for almost any job I'm actually interested in. And then after getting that stuff or before getting that stuff, they say, hey, you're taking too long. We're going to move on with somebody else. That is exactly what they do. I've seen them do that before. They're slimy. They're always looking for a way to mess somebody up. So I didn't follow through with that because I've already just had bad experiences with trying to retrieve that particular document. So on Thursday, I actually no, not Thursday. On Friday, there's two of them. The first one is a 30-mile drive to their office in another city. I go down there. I speak to one of the people that works there. They kind of sound like they want me, whatever. I'm supposed to know on Monday if I've been selected or not. Only time will tell on that one. And then within a couple of hours of that, there was another place which is basically the same type of work but for way less hours. And what was crazy to me is that when I was talking to the employee for this place, they started to explain to me, oh, this is a part-time position, and you can either have, when you go to the training program, you can have full-time training, which is 9 to 5, or part-time training from 9 to 1. And I'm like, wait a second. So to work 15, because I asked how many hours, right? When you hear part-time, that could be anywhere from 10 hours to 30. We don't know. So I asked the guy point blank, how many hours typically is there in a week for this job? Oh, 15 to 20. So to work 50, you have to take 40 hours of training to work for 15 to 20 hours. I'm telling you, these people are the most self-defeating. And again, they'll never be able to see the absurdity of that. So that's the one I like the least. If I don't hear back from them, I'm not really going to lose any sleep over it because they're not serious anyway. They're whatever. I just thought it was kind of funny, the idea that the training is more hours than the actual job itself. Like to work for us for 15 hours a week, you need to go to 40-hour training. I just find that to be completely absurd. But there's a lot of little like weird stuff going on with employers and just the decision making that they assign themselves to having. They're like, oh, you need to do this, you need to go through this, you need to pass this, pass that. It's just something I'm used to at this point. And I am noticing a correlation where it seems like the jobs that are the most I don't want to say accommodating, but the ones that seem like they want me the most have this running gag where almost all of them want you to basically they're like almost always far away. Like there's some driving distance that by the time I finish driving over there, I feel kind of like tired or worn out because how far it is. So pretty much it those are the ones I'm always I'm noticing there's just this strong correlation of we actually want you. We're just very, very far away, or we're not. We're of such a distance that is not what you would expect or have preferred. Because it would be really nice to work somewhere that's only a mile away, 2 miles away, 5 miles away. Nope, got to go 20, 30, 50, 60, always, forever and ever. Tell you, every job is the same thing over here. I said before, it does feel like it's a job just to get a job. Like all the interviews, all the stuff they expect you to do just to work somewhere. It's interesting just from the standpoint of here's this thing that you see all these other people with and you start to wonder what did it take for them to get it. That's why I said I always felt there was this disconnect between the actual employees of a place and the people that are trying to start working there, where the people who are already there have their foot through the door, they're very comfortable, etc. But then if you're a new person, it's like you're either going to sink or swim, and they're going to try to get rid of you as fast as they can, to where you just never feel like, with every job I've had since the that one time I was at the restaurant, I've just never truly felt comfortable. I always must be within a couple of weeks. I'm like, okay, they're gonna find something to have a problem with sooner than later, because it's what they do. They look for stuff to get rid of somebody over, to cut costs, to not have to pay people as much as they're owed, or they could actually make a living off of. It's sad, and that's why I said this whole like permanent phase of having to live with these different crappy relatives. It just doesn't seem like it's going to come to an end anytime soon. Like even if I get hired somewhere, you're going to get probably a week of 40 hours, and then after that maybe another week of 40 hours, then 25 or 30, and it just seems like all of these positions are dead serious about only hiring people part-time, and the ones that do want to hire someone full-time are just extremely, what's the way of putting it, contentious isn't the word, there's another word to describe it. They're like very, very extreme in terms of wanting you to just be perfect within your first couple of days or weeks of being there. Like if you make any mistakes, it's just too much, and you need to be gotten rid of as fast as you can. When I started working at that restaurant, manager sounded like the most calm, understanding person in the world. You start working for them within 1 week, first week of being there. Actually, I said before, first day of actually working, because the rest of the other days just me filling out paperwork. Threatened to be fired. Again, nobody can tell me that that's normal. That you're gonna hire someone and then like no, that they've never done this stuff before, but then get so angry and impatient with them that you're just like, okay, well, if you don't improve massively by the exact second day of you doing this stuff, we're gonna let you go. I said before, that guy's really lucky that I wasn't as cynical about jobs as I am now, because if I had known that back then, I would have quit right there. Because I've learned now from experience, when you're afraid that you're going to get fired over something that really is not you, being negligent, not no, it's like just the basic fact that a person who just started working somewhere is not going to be as good as someone that's been there for months or years. I just don't need the extra stress. I don't. Too much fear for too little result. Oh, their drive-throughs on the other side. No, that's always my least favorite part of being around any of these places, that you have to make sure that you're not, what's a good way of putting it? Like when you back out, you always have to look and see, and then sometimes you'll be parked next to some big giant car like I am right now that just completely blocks ability to even see out of the side mirror or the not the mirror, the window. Just it makes it harder to gauge if anyone's there or not. It's actually a pretty cool day, all things considered. I'm kind of surprised. The weather is much better than it's been for most mornings. That's actually one of the reasons I was talking about how when I would do the 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. streams is because a lot of times you get to that middle part of the morning and it starts really warming up. Like when I came outside, which was not even an hour ago, it was like 9 o'clock because I went to the other place and I was there for probably less than 30 minutes. Um, I'm not even kidding. It was so cold that I had the windows all the way up, and the sun wasn't even out, and now the sun is out. So that's why I said the weather changes so frequently and so quickly. Yeah, I was having a conversation with this one person about conventions, and we were talking about how interesting it is that people. I'm not even kidding. Sometimes I look at people online, and you really would think they're just loaded. I mean, they have conventions in whole other states, and they're able to just go on a plane and travel over there, fly over here, fly over there, pose with some actors for $100 plus. I'm always just in awe at the amount of money that people will spend to be around someone that they like. I don't know. I guess there is a novelty to it that I do like, but maybe more so because of you could call it adulthood, you could call it just cynicism. It's one of those things, I'm sure. But I kind of have this belief system now to where um, if there is someone who is notable, but me and the notable person are never going to develop any meaningful dialogue or rapport, I just kind of don't see the point of continuously trying to get their attention. Um, Again, that's just me. It's just one of those things where I just sit back. I'm like, like it's cool, right, to meet someone, I guess, but it's not really a thing that I'm just like, oh, I have to. I did that on it was that last weekend because it was close by. But if I had to go and pay $500 to get on a plane and then another 3 or 400 to get a tickets at a I don't know to get a stay at some motel or hotel or whatever, it just wouldn't be worth it to me. Because as I've explained before, the thing about those places is that they're not mindful at all of the fact that people have to oftentimes fly in from somewhere else just to go. Like you could very easily before I've explained before, you could before you even get in the door, you could end up spending $100 where it's like 30 to go each day, another 30 for parking for both days. If you want somebody's autograph, it's like 30 to $60. You want to take a picture with somebody, that's all over the place. It's really sad just how like non-mindful these people are of stuff. But I guess it makes sense because you see that same belief system trickling down to like from the famous to the unknown. I mean, oh great, here comes some loud boombox music. Sometimes I don't even think they're actually listening to a song. I feel like they go on some Beats website and download the MP3 file and then play it on their phone or whatever Bluetooth system they have. So when they drive, they just go boom, 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 just making some some noise like there's no lyrics, there's no rhythm to it. It's just boom, boom, boom. I can tell you how many places I'll drive into, and you hear somebody's music just blasting at what appears to be the highest volume or frequency they can put it at. Mm. I don't know why that person was looking so nervous. No, I'm just kind of at a point with a lot of this stuff where it's all just checked out. Like I had this one idea of if I were able to get some kind of how things are going. Well, don't start that up again. No, I was trying to see if we get some more characters because I was going to mention how you have this one relative where, for whatever reason, and for whatever reason, they every time they're aware of the fact that you're going for an interview or maybe you've spoken to some employer, they ask that same question, even if it makes no sense. Like I kid you not, I got called on Friday of last week about the interview I had on Monday with this delivery driver service, and right as I get off the phone with this person, the call's not even 3 minutes long. It's just the person explaining some stuff. I can barely hear them because the other person has some stuff playing in the background, whatever. They ask me after I go. They go and hear my responses. By the way, we're agreeing for me to come on Monday. Did you get a job? So then on Friday, this yesterday rather this Friday, um, I have another place that calls me. This is actually the one I like the least out of any of them because they're talking about having you go for full-time training for part-time hours, which I just think is insane. But as I'm speaking to that person over the phone and they're explaining to me what's going on, et cetera, I get a text message from this person who again can't mind their business, and it reads, "Did you get a job?" And then after I go to sleep, because I've on yesterday I had to drive for over 2 hours to a different city to go to an interview. So I'm tired. I lay down. I go to sleep for maybe an hour or two. I wake up. I have my door open, so because whatever. And this person is like at the like just standing or doing something in like the middle room or whatever. They're like, "Did you get a job?" God, so obnoxious, man. And my response to them was no. Ask the same stupid question every 2 to 7 days. Like it's gonna change. If somebody had a job, you would see them go to their job. Who the hell has a job after one interview? Like, matter of fact, I wish this person would go to theirs. Well, it's just annoying when you know that you're trying as hard as you can to get hired somewhere, and you have these people who do nothing except run their mouths, um, trying to like put all this pressure on you, and it's just it's really annoying. Did you get a job? Yeah, stupid bastard asked me that 3 times in 1 week. Like, what do you think? Not you, but just like that. That was my like. I by the third time I said this exact way. No, it's really crazy. Them asking that comes from ear hustling on me on my phone conversations. Like maybe if you would mind your own damn business, somebody could get hired. So just an obnoxious group, man. That's all they know how to do is just be a pain in the side. Did you get a job? You should have seen my reaction on last Friday. It was like a real dissonance because I was like, I literally am just hearing about an interview, that's scheduled for not even tomorrow, for like not until Monday. And right after I hang up the phone with the guy, which again is a phone call that entirely consists of me saying, yes, yeah, I'm available. What time? Okay. That was the whole extent of what they heard. Did you get a job? Just annoying. Every week. Interview, 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 interview. Every week, same stupid question asked over and over. That's one of the reasons why I said it's like being in your own private hell, being around these people, because they're just so obnoxious and they make everything worse just by being with them. Like if somebody, actually a good example is that when I went to this convention on Saturday, that entailed me leaving at like 8 in the morning. I didn't get back until about 5. I actually left early. That thing ran until later that night or whatever. What I thought was really nuts is that despite the fact that I was gone for basically the entire day, this person, when I get back, they're like, "Hey, where did you go?" And I'm thinking to myself, if you were truly concerned about where I went, you would have pulled out your crummy cell phone and called me. You wouldn't go, "Oh, well, this person has been gone since 8 this morning. It's almost, the evening time, late afternoon, whatever. Let me just keep waiting for them to reappear eventually throughout the day at some point." But yeah, that just shows you they don't actually care, because when it comes to doing even the most basic things to show some level of concern, they will not do it. All right, so for you're not going to convince me that the relative who can never pay for any food, never pay for any stuff with the car, any other utility, that's someone who cares about me. That's the joke of the season. Everyone tries to convince you that they do, but they all fail miserably. All these relatives are good for is extracting money from you and running their mouth. That's it. This person was talking about, oh, you need to eat vegetables. I said, buy them for me. Again, it's all fake concern. It's all just rhetoric. It's empty talk, worthless talk. I am so concerned about this person's eating habits. Are you gonna get them some food? Nope. Okay, then shut up. What was that video called? If you don't pay, I don't care what you have to say. That's how I feel. If people won't spend 1 cent on food for you, you don't need to listen to them. Because again, if they actually cared, they would buy the food themselves. What a joke, man. So I said this is just such a really awful group. All they do is run their mouths. Like we're living in an era where the only thing people can offer to you is just this. That's it. You call up an employer, you ask them, "Are you hiring?" "Oh no, but there might be this other place." All right, worthless talk. You call one of the you never get any calls from these different damn relatives, but when they need something from you, here they come. I'm always like dazzled by the fact that you have people who, I'm not even kidding, they want you to be sympathetic towards them, like to feel bad for them for when something happens to them, right? With it could be with other relatives or just people in general. But then if something happens to you, they enter this really strange thing I've noticed where they have like a, I don't know why they do it. I don't know why they do it, but they do. They have this thing where they start defending the other side, like almost to levels of absurdity. I mean, like just over, and it's like over stuff where you're like, you're really gonna try to tell me that I'm in the wrong for this? Are you serious? Because I've said before, I feel like with a lot of people, they don't understand their mandate. And what I mean by that is sometimes if a person is confiding in you something that bothers them, some that upsets them, some that whatever, it's not your place to try and tell them that, oh, this isn't that big of a deal, get over it, etc., etc. You know, it's you're just not in a position where you should be able to say that to them and then still expect to be someone that they would want to talk to, confide in, etc. Like if somebody was telling me, oh, my boss threatened to fire me because I got some bad reviews on our company website, I'm gonna say, wow, how many were there? They're like, oh, 5. I'm gonna say, well, what do the other employees also get bad reviews? And then you say, yeah. I'm like, whoa, that's really lame. So so he's basically going to go out of his way to get rid of the newest person, even though the people that work there get bad reviews all the time and nothing happens to them. They have all that good plot armor. I wouldn't go, oh, how many reviews did you get that were bad? Oh, 5. That's too many. It's like, you don't even know how many reviews the other people get. So I said, I'm just sick of these this whole group, man. They're all so self-righteous. They all sit around running their mouths, pretending like they're these brilliant experts on everything. It's crazy. I'm not even kidding when I say that sometimes I really do sit back and wonder, like, how do these people even, like, I'm not even joking. I couldn't imagine being friends with any of these people as far as just the way that they act. Who would want to be around this? Who wants to be with someone that's angry at them over stupid stuff and um, very dismissive of when you try to tell them that it's something that about something that's bothering them or bothering you rather. Just a weird group, man. People online are in their fake millionaire phase where they're all doing the I can travel here, I can go there. I said the sad part is that if you're someone who works like a 40-hour schedule for probably 2, 3, 4 months, you realistically could travel to another state and like book a plane, whatever, um, plane and hotel, all the rest of that. The problem is because a lot of these jobs just want to hire people part time, and most people don't like live with someone that just lets them live there rent free. You're not really allowed to kind of keep like funds for that process that are just not messed with or not tampered with, which is really lame because a lot of times you want to, I mean, I don't know. I just hate the idea that because of where you stay or where you're living in or whatever, you can't, you know, just have some damn freedom. Like go to another state, go to another city, just on a whim, get up and um, fly over to from California to I don't know Texas. That's one state I really like to visit at some point because they have a lot of historical monuments I'd be interested in. Managed to go over there and take some pictures of all the stuff, and get like an idea of what it was like to be over there. No, if there's one state I'm gonna try as hard as I can to visit before I die, it'll be Texas. And there are plenty other ones I'd also like to go to: New York, Florida, um, any part of Illinois that's not Chicago. But if it comes down to it, and I can only go to one, it'll be that one. Let's see here. Now we could have a whole stream discussing how there's a real prevailing ignorance associated with people and just all the stuff relating to them. Like, I still remember the stream I did where one of my subscribers, I'm not going to say his name because I'm not trying to make fun of him, but one of my subscribers said that he thought Carter was president during World War II, and I laughed a little bit because it was so crazy to me that you could forget Roosevelt when one of the most iconic lines in all of American political history is December 7th, 1941, a date that will live in infamy. And it was him who said that. So, but I guess I'll put it this way: to assume that someone who wasn't in power until 30 plus years later was in office was also amusing to me. It would be like if someone were to have mistaken, I don't know, William McKinley for being president during the Civil War. It's just it would be so absurd because you have a conflict that is so heavily associated with this one particular historical figure that to imagine it as anybody else, I mean, especially someone who could not have feasibly been in power when it happened because they were underage, uh, or rather not of the age of being able to actually assume the presidency, is just it's even more like nuts. Like, wow, you really thought that? Seriously? Another example would be if I were to say that the first U.S. like it would basically the way that comment came off to me is if you were to say that the Revolutionary War, was like heralded by General Jackson, and Andrew Jackson was the first president. It's just that's how like weird it is, where there's a person who was around when it happened, right? But they were too young to where they could have any like major, big, huge, you know, role in the state of events. So to see someone who mistakes them for being in charge when it happened makes it even crazier. It's like you really think they were in power when this occurred? Really? Like I said, I don't expect people to be into this stuff as much as me, but the Second World War is one of the most notable conflicts in all of human history, and certainly one of the most notable in terms of American history. I think the only two conflicts that would probably register as being as important or as historically well remembered are probably the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. Basically the beginnings of our democracy, and then probably the conflict that separated us for several years into where some of our states formed their own country. God, I'm just anticipating the nightmare it's going to be to even get out of here. let's see, I have to make sure that I don't hit anything because that car is blocking my peripheral or my view or whatever, and then I have to make sure that I can like turn that other direction. It's going to be a bit of a. It's interesting. This is actually closer to my second usual destination of the market, but because of the angle of the, I guess you could say, like the ways that the when you get out where you're going to end up, it's harder to like navigate into there. My favorite thing is when you try to turn into another lane and people start honking their horn, like when you're waiting for the cars to go by. It's like, sorry, I'm not feeling like getting smacked up by somebody else's vehicle so that you can get to your destination 2 minutes quicker. I've seen plenty of instances though where like you'll be in the car and then the light will turn green and someone just honks the horn immediately, like right after. Like you before you can even react to the light changing. And that's really obnoxious because sometimes you might just want to make sure, everything is clear. Some of these streets are actually very confusing. They have whether I guess intersections upon intersections where some cars are going straight, others turn to the left, others turn to the right. It's sometimes you just want to make sure that nothing is coming, even if the light changes. Just make sure. And people just they have no patience. They honk that horn as fast as they can. Mm. It's awful. Like I said, we just live in this era of extremes. Like you know, hurry up, do this much in this little amount of time. Come on, come on, come on. No, I really hope these interviews from this week pay off because I really just I despise the idea of going to so many of those things and just having nothing come out of it. I'll never forget when I was working at the restaurant. I had this one relative, and they were like, "Maybe the reason they're only giving you this many hours is so that they can get you ready for more when you get all your training in or whatever." And literally right after they said that, I think it was the day after they said that actually is when they fired me, and it was like, wow, so all that training, all that showing you where's this, where's that, where's that, all of that was just so you could have me work there for a couple of weeks and barely give me any hours, and just toss me out. It was all anticlimactic. That's why I said employers are just a really strange crop of people. They're nuts. I'm not kidding. You'll sit here sometimes and be like, That's it? That was really the whole purpose of me being here? For real? 3 hours a week? 5 hours today? Two tomorrow? Like that was the whole extent of my existence in your company, just to have you get mad at me over not knowing how to do something that you already knew I didn't know how to do when I started working there, and then just get rid of me like very abruptly after a few days of working. Because I worked there for a month, but I actually had less than 2 full weeks of days of service to them. I had 9 days of working there between those 4 weeks. Because there was one whole week where they didn't even put me in at all. I was pissed. I was like, that this is the job, really, just sitting here and again like nothing. You know, it's so funny. There's this stereotype of these reactionary women on the internet who are like, again, it doesn't mean that they look this way per se, but like the joke is that they're very large and they have blue hair. And I'm not even kidding. I'm literally seeing that right. Well, it's not all the way blue, but it's like a streak of blue. And I was reminded of that line. She fit the stereotype almost to a T. If her whole hair had been that color, we'll laugh even more. No, Jim, I don't want to be greeted by you ever again because when I did part three, you didn't say a word. You didn't leave a comment. You didn't thumb it up. You didn't give me a clap or a good job. Nothing. I have very rarely been as devastated as I was when you didn't say anything. I have too. This week I had 4 job interviews in 5 days. One of them entailed me driving 60 miles to and back from their little headquarters operation place. Like I said, I'm sympathetic towards the death in the family. I'm just wondering if you're gonna say anything on that video. I worked very hard on it. It's bad enough. I got Megumi very upset because I still haven't made the decline. But again, it's been a very busy week for me as well. I will need to complete it. Yeah, because the way part four is looking, it's probably going to be as long or longer. Because when part four is finished, that means we're done with the Senate years, and then we can just jump straight to the either. I'm not sure which way I want to frame it. Either the 1960 campaign with the Senate years, 'cause it's what while he's still a senator, or the vice presidency, you know, by itself. Or again, I'm debating like which to include it with. I prefer probably to stick it in there with the to stick put the campaign with the vice presidency. So no, it's just interesting doing a series of videos like this because you learn a lot of stuff. And I'm telling you, you know, Johnson had a near fatal heart attack. I think it was in 1955 or 50, like somewhere in that period after he becomes the Democratic leader in the Senate. And I'm not kidding. If he had died when that happened, no, VP will be separate no matter what. I'm just saying I didn't know if I want to include it in the with the 1960 campaign or put the 1960 campaign with the Senate years. But I was saying if Johnson had died from that heart attack, he still would be remembered as one of the greatest senators, at least of the 20th century. Like that's how influential that 10-year period was where he was in the Senate. Like if you know, I know you probably still haven't seen all of part three yet, but he became the youngest youngest Senate leader up to that point in US history at 46. There had never been anyone that was younger than maybe like 58, like damn near 60 that ever had the leadership position, and in his first term too. Right, but I'm just saying that his record as a senator is really impressive. Like you had the conservative Democrats, you know, that were like against civil rights, and then you have the liberal ones, and he was able to keep them all together as this cohesive, unified party that, by virtue of siding with Eisenhower on a lot of domestic and foreign issues, where more conservative Republicans wouldn't, made them seem like they were these upper class statesmen who were concerned about the well-being of their country and above any kind of like, you know, partisanship, whereas the Republicans were these extremists who were attacking what he termed the hero president. It was a really smart strategy that did pay off for the Democrats. Like, there's a reason why between all the elections, presidential elections of 1932 all the way up until 1964, the Democrats win all of them except for two. They knew how to campaign back then. They had it. Say, man, liberalism was at its peak in that 30-year period, and ever since, really ever since the Reagan years, it's just been conservatives, 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 conservatives. Oh, Jem, let me ask you about this because I wanted to see get your opinion on it. Um, let's say that you're my landlord, right? And actually, no, I'm your landlord. Let me use it, flip it. And you have bottles that you save you so you can recycle them, right? And you put them inside of the attic or a place that no one goes regularly, like a place that no one sleeps in, no one eats in, just a place that people don't even use almost hardly ever at all. Throughout the entire year, they're in there. I see some, I tell you to take them out of there, and then you do that. You take them out of there, but then I start to complain to you about them being outside because I claim that they attract rats and roaches. Do you understand where I just raised the goalpost? Because first I was complaining that they were inside and then could theoretically bring these, different creatures into the house or whatever. But now I'm complaining that they're outside. And also, Jem, I want to ask you something. If you were a landlord or whatever, maybe you're like in charge of someone's house, I don't know, just something like that. Would it bother you if they had bottles outside? Like, because remember, your argument is if they're inside, they can attract rats and roaches. But if they're outside and rats and roaches come, why do you care? Like, where else would they be? Like, wouldn't in an ideal situation they only be outside? By the way, I was trying to explain this situation and how like jacked up it was. No asking as it's really packed. No, as long. Well, no, what I'm getting at is they raised the goalpost. First, they were complaining that it was inside. So then you put it outside, then they're still complaining. And I was trying to explain to them that the reason I didn't want to, I was using these types of bags, little recyclable bags, right? The type you get from the market, and you can just put stuff in, put stuff out. I was using those to put the bottles in because I have this person I stay with, and I've told you about them before, Jem. And one of the things that's one of their hallmarks is that they're very reluctant to spend their own money on things they actually need. So what I'm getting at is regular trash bags, the ones that you can seal up. A pack of them is like $10. The amount of bags I can usually put into my car and like take to a recycling place usually totals to like 10, 11, 12, 13. So do you see where it doesn't make sense to me to buy $10 bags to recycle things that I'm only going to get $10 or a little bit over $10 for anyway? That people are petty, and they were neatly packed. They were all pressed up against the wall, um, in a corner. So it's not like they're just scattered around the place. You know what I mean? Like they're all up against the wall, and they. That's why I said, man, I despise these people. All they do is look for ways to make things even harder for you. It's like, hey, person who only makes 10 or 12 from recycling, go spend $10 on this specific type of bag. Yeah, brilliant. And like I said, man, that place that they're complaining about was used so infrequently that I was able to put stuff back there for 10 months without anyone complaining at all or being upset or because they don't, no one goes back there. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care about a rat or a roach in what do you call it, like a shed. No one sleeps in there. It's literally just a storage room where people put books. They put, maybe they have some I don't know, vases or chairs. Like, there's no one's in there to where they would even notice that stuff because they're not. No one goes in there other than to just grab something out. By the way, this person that's the landlord or whatever, I had assisted them in lifting some stuff out of that place because they couldn't lift it; it was too heavy for them. And then, like, I thought, okay, now we've come to an understanding. They get that, I put the stuff there for that reason, but now it's going to be outside, whatever. Um, and literally the day after that, when I called them, they're like, I don't like this stuff being outside either, unless you can put them in this specific type of. It's like, wow, you even after you help them do something that they physically could not have done without you, they still are like, trying to pressure you to use these even more expensive That's why I said no good deed goes unpunished. They are applying pressure for no reason. And I was talking to this one person yesterday about how again, like, why do I have to pay for for $10 bags to recycle $10 worth of bottles? And they're like, oh, rats and roaches can go inside if they are outside. I'm like, well, not if you close the damn door. Like, what, you're telling me if I have my door locked at all times or closed at all times, like any normal person, a rat's gonna somehow squeeze through our phase through it? Like, what? Because I have a trash can where the top sometimes is kept up, whatever. I see a whole field of ants going in there. But guess what? As long as no, dude, I know rats have no interest in, especially water bottles that are closed up. Dude, the only time I've seen rats at all is when they're inside a house and, like, there's food on the floor or whatever. Rat don't go for no damn bottle. Are you kidding me? I told you, man, these people just okay. But if ants are outside, right? Why does it bother you? Like I get being upset that there's an infestation in your home, but like I said, I have a trash can that ants are crawling in all day long, and it doesn't bother me because they're not in my house. The trash can is outside. You get what I'm saying, right? If they're outside, why does it? Yeah, something to complain about. Exactly. Now let me tell you what was going to happen, Jem. So show you who is the boss. Yeah, let me tell you what was going to happen after doing the Johnson one, because I think at this point, realistically, we're about halfway through. The two that I was considering were a tie. It was a tie between FDR and Nixon. FDR would be very complimentary to Johnson because they're what Robert Dowlick, Johnson's biographer, calls the two titans of the 20th century. And of course, Johnson was a protege of Roosevelt, so it makes sense to cover them together. No, let me tell you what happened, Jim. So, like, I use books for my sources, right? I've got 6 books on LBJ. I've got the 4 Robert Caro volumes, the 4 Caro volumes, and then the 2 Robert Dallek volumes. So I have one book on Roosevelt. It's the Conrad Black book. That's the same guy that wrote a book on Nixon. Um, and I ordered 2 other ones back about midway through September. One of them was FDR by Gene Edward Smith. This is a book that came out in, I think, 2007. It is a definitive biography of the president, liked by a lot of people. And the other one was Traitor to His Class by H.W. Brands, who is another accredited biographer. And man, look, I'm telling you, I ordered these 2 books back in mid-September, right? Here we are at the start of October. They still have not come. I was told I could get a refund by the latter part of last month, and I've heard that after that day came, Amazon started talking about contact the seller. I contact the seller. They tell me to look at the tracking number. The tracking number has been updated since September 19th. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for a refund back from that seller, and probably order both of those from, because they got lost. They got lost. What happens is that Amazon's really good when it comes to books that they personally have on stock or on file. But when it comes to these other sellers, it's all over the place. Um, I mean, I'm not kidding to you. They told me September 25th, 26th hasn't arrived. You can come back for a refund. I go back. They're talking about contact the seller. The seller's talking about the last time we were given a shipping update. Well, you need to go look at that instead of talking to me. It's messy, and it really pissed me off. So if Roosevelt doesn't end up being the next one, it's because the books I ordered on him are taking way too long to come. There's all types of weird stuff happening, and I'm just not in the mood for it. Oh, I'm absolutely going to demand a refund. Really, the biggest thing that was drawing me away from doing FDR is that there's a lot of singular volumes about him, and I was really hoping I could get at least some book that spent a decent time on him as governor, because I really don't know much about him being New York's governor. It was a 4-year period that, was the stepping stone, him running for president, but there really is nothing there that gets talked about that often. Well, I mean, so does Johnson. I like remember 10 years in the House, 10 years in the Senate, 3 years as vice president, and then 6 years as president. That's a 30-year career. And that's not even counting the time as the National Youth Administration head in Texas and the his time as a teacher. Is it true what they say about Johnson? Has he done what he said he would do? Well, I'm just saying Nixon would be easier for me to do because I actually have several books on him. LBJ is underrated in public. Absolutely. I'm not like Jem. If I end up finishing this documentary when it's like at part 8 or 9 or 10, I will make a video just me speaking on camera about the legacy of Johnson and talk about how I truly believe out of any of the presidents after Roosevelt, he is the most important one. No other one comes close in terms of making a legislative difference in the US that was positive than him out of any of the ones after Roosevelt. And the only other one that could be argued as being significant in terms of their legislation and like having some type of legacy is probably Bush, the son, because of the Patriot Act and the never-ending Afghanistan war. Just the very stuff like that could make him somewhat of a contender for someone who also has a pretty prevalent legacy that continued through his successors. But I'm serious. There's no president out of the last 50 or 60 years that comes anywhere close to Johnson's legislative record. I mean, dude, and that's why I said I really hate that Caro is taking so long to do Volume 5 of his. Yeah, Biden has the Inflation Reduction Act and some other laws we can get into, but I'm just telling you that if you look at any of the ones after Roosevelt, the only one that comes close to having a similar domestic legacy that's good is Johnson. Food stamps, Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, public housing, Medicare, Medicaid, the 911 number, the emergency broadcast system. I mean, it was This one documentary said it was an explosion of new laws. It was. And I'm not even kidding when I tell you, and people will get mad at me if I make this video, but I'm going to say in it that, so like, you know how with Roosevelt, not FDR, TR, he completely overshadows William McKinley, right? McKinley was a guy who had one term as president, got reelected to a second one, got killed during the second term by this crazy person. But, you know, it's like generally seen as an okay, all right president by historians. I truly believe that if it were not for Kennedy's family, um, Kennedy would be the McKinley to LBJ's TR. He would be this guy that was like, you know, okay as president, didn't really do that much, but you know, still whatever. And then after they get tragically, and it is tragic, murdered, the person that takes over after them completely surpasses them in basically almost every way. I'm serious. Like it's really sad that the whole like Camelot mystique has allowed uh JFK to have a bigger public image than Johnson. It's really sad because it tells you that a lot of times in politics it's not about actually improving people's lives or having some kind of record that, you know, is substantial. It's just who is the prettiest, whose family went around for 30, 40 years talking about, you know, the eternal flame and the new frontier and all the rest of these terms that don't have any weight to them. So yeah, if it weren't for his family, he would be completely surpassed by Johnson in almost every way. Oh, let me see what this is about. Oh, let me see. Jem, why'd you ask if I was okay? So let me tell you what happened. I had there was this lady that parked next to me, and she kind of like, yeah, she kind of like motioned for me to speak to her, and I got scared for a second because I thought maybe it was like they were saying, "Oh, you've been parked here for too long," whatever. Um, it was she asked me if I was hungry and and offered to get me something to eat, and she had said that because she saw all the stuff in my back seat, she thought I might have been like a homeless person, and said that she was going to keep me in her prayers, and I thanked her and um, didn't take her up on the offer because I'm not just up here to do the stream basically. Yeah, it was, and I thanked her for that because I just said it has been difficult. I mean, um, it really has. It's been one of the hardest years I can remember. No, I had a feeling it wasn't because you can look at her and tell she's not an officer, but I had a feeling that it wasn't something bad because I was like, what could I have possibly done to where when I'm just sitting here in this parking lot, someone's gonna like confront me, like maybe I've trapped her in or something. Like I figured it wouldn't be anything too bad. I was like, oh no. I'm telling you, Jim, one of these days, it probably won't be this year, it might not be next year. But one of these days, I'll be able to tell you in full what like all types of crazy stuff that has happened over the period of the last 12 months because it has been nuts. And the saddest part is it's not about stuff being too expensive. It's not about it's not even. I guess I'll put it to you like this: you can have someone who does the most basic of stuff for you, and oh yeah, people ignore you over here too. That's why I was so surprised, and I really did thank her for reaching out in that regard because they you know how rare it is to ever have anyone actually try to like ask you if you're all right. Um, but I gotta tell you, it has been a very difficult year, man. Uh, well, it just took me by surprise. Like I was even explaining that when I went to this convention on Saturday, and I saw this one. These people are loud. I saw this one actress. I actually because they don't tell you like where the people are going to be, the different people that are there for the little event. So when I saw her at her table, I actually like paused for a second because I was just like so starstruck. Like, wow, that's them. Um, and when I took the picture with her, she had like put her arm around my back, and I was so I was I'm not gonna say I was uncomfortable, but I was like surprised by that because I'm not kidding. I have all these different relatives, and they are almost never in any way physically affectionate with you. They never hug you. You never get a just like any type of contact with someone that is even in like the most basic of ways affectionate. So it threw me off. You know what I mean? I'm serious. Outside of a handshake from different people I go to interview with, you almost never make any, physical contact with someone um, at all, unless it's a fist fight or some other, altercation. But you know what I mean? That like that threw me off just because I'm so not used to having anyone try to like. I met Aquaman. He was great. Oh, Momoa. But you get what I'm saying? That like that threw me off because no one ever you know does any physical contact with me that would be remotely considered of any actual affectionate manner. Like when she put her hand around my back, I really did react to it, not like in some like throw across, but like in a very subtle way. I was like, wow, just almost never do you have anything like that happen. Oh, you have no idea how many nights I have spent tossing and turning and curled up in the ball. It has been a very miserable period, man. And like I said, it's not because things are too expensive. It's not because, you know, really anything even having mostly to do with money, even though money is the source of a lot of issues. It's because you have a group of people who call themselves caring about you and they do almost nothing to actually assist you with really anything at all. Um, and you know that this isn't normal because you have in the past been around people who treated you much better than this. Yeah, well, I've tried to make the best of it. I really have. I said this year I was going to no longer do the delay thing. And I kept saying the thing that stopped me from wanting to do a documentary was the idea of doing all that work for like tiny views or whatever. And that's why I said I'm glad I at least decided I'm going to do it, but in pieces, because I have the option to go back and edit whatever mistakes I make and eventually, merge all into one video or whatever. As long as you do your best, that's all that matters. Yeah, you tell that to these stupid people. Like I said, man, I know like um I'm just gonna say this to you one more time because you might have forgotten, but you'll never understand how angry I was when at the start of May, after a whole month of me driving from place to place all over this damn state, trying to get hired somewhere, I had this relative come to me and stick their hand out demanding $500. It just that's why when they did that, the first thing I did was start packing. I couldn't take it anymore. And I'm getting close to reaching that same boiling point again really soon because it's too much, man. Oh God. Telling you, every month it's the same thing. Just apply, apply, apply. And then, you know, nothing back. Yeah, I've had relatives get physical with me for littlest things when I was in high school. Well, I'm sorry they were that way. I really am. Trying to get me kicked out the house. Oh yeah, you'll be. It's so funny you mentioned that. I used to really believe that because they would always say, "Oh, you don't pay anything, so you get out here," right? That was what I had heard before. Like I didn't have people telling me that, but it was just like the understanding was because the person pays stuff, then they kind of like get to choose and determine things or whatever. Dude, this year, all this money has gone towards paying part of the thing over at that place I stay at, and the person who pays more still believes they can tell you, get out of here, you can go, you can get the expletive out of here. So now I know for a fact that even if you were to pay something, which I have, it doesn't matter. Right, but you see what I'm saying? Of right, like the mystique of, oh, we can treat you this way because you don't pay anything, now no longer works, because even as you've been paying something, this person still speaks and talks as if you don't, and they can just get rid of you whenever they like. I have blood pressure because of that stress and trauma. Yeah, there's a lot of well, I'm very sorry to hear that. Trust me, I've had no shortage of stress myself. I'm telling you, I've tried so hard in almost every pursuit. Like I tell you, when I do a documentary, I get some books, I read through them, I take notes. I have my little script or whatever. Um, and even with the job interviews, it's like Some of these sometimes, like for the one I went to yesterday, I had to get up because I don't like taking the freeway over here. It kind of unnerves me just driving that fast, and a lot of times these streets are kind of twisty and turny and just all over the place. I'm not kidding. I left 2 hours ahead of time just to make sure I was on time to that thing, and it's just I'm tired of it, man. No, all people do is complain and get upset and try to mess with you over things. So I live around the kind of person who they'll see you buy like three books for $14, and then they'll be like, "You say you can't afford this, but you're able to get these books." It's like, yeah, they cost nowhere near the 300 or 500 or whatever the hell that you want every month. Because I'm telling you, these people truly want everyone around them to be just as miserable as they are. If you do anything that indulges you in happiness, anything, right? It's something they try to confront or combat. You say you can't afford this, but you're able to get that. That's why on Saturday when I went up to that place, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna not stream today. I streamed on Friday instead. I just want to have one day where I can at least, for the most part, not be around this toxic group, and just for a few hours, forget about all the miserable stuff that happens day after day." I had to hide to play Nintendo. Okay, they believe in that stuff. They truly do. They want you to feel bad for playing a video game. That's just the nature of this stuff. Unfortunately, there's always such a refusal to see the other side of the issue. But I hope you understand my perspective, right? That if like, why should you not be able to get, because books are not expensive unless they're new generally. You know what I'm talking about. I can get three books for like $10 sometimes. But I'm saying, why should you be made to be miserable and not enjoy any of the stuff that you want because someone else expects you to give them hundreds of dollars every single month? Like, it's crazy. Yeah, just like Akatsuki merchant said, dirt cheap. The only time they cost a decent amount of money is if they're brand new. Like I got Levin's book for 17, which I still think isn't that bad. 300-page book just came out literally like the week it came out. It was down from 30 to 17. I thought that was pretty good. Um, so there I got O'Reilly's book on Trump for $7. Matter of fact, no, I don't have it back here. There's somebody was selling like three books from O'Reilly for $10 on eBay. High quality graphics books. Well, I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that you know, is not that expensive, and it's like that person really will try to make you feel bad for getting something that's not that expensive when they come to you and try to ask you for coins. And that's why I said that they're so full of it, because the one thing that you get that is indulging in this thing that you really care about, which is the news and history, etc., they're like actively antagonistic towards you having. No, the point I was making was that it is very sad when a random celebrity that doesn't even know your name can be more affectionate to you than the people that you live with and see every day and are related to. Yeah, because I thought I was just gonna stand by the table she was sitting at and take the photo, and then she got up and, like I said, put her arm around my back, and I was kind of, surprised by it a little bit because, like I said, this is a non intimate era where no one can ever initiate any type of physical contact with someone other than when they're getting in a fist fight or handshake. So that really threw me off. Not to where I showed it, but it was still just kind of like, wow. And I'm not even joking. That might be the first time this whole year that someone like actually tried to do like a sort of embrace of me. I'm not even kidding. I think there was one time back in like March or April where I was hugged by, I think someone did that. I'm kidding. That's like the one of only at most two times this whole year someone like took me by by anything other than a handshake. It was like a hug or an embrace or any type of motion to be physical in some kind of affectionate manner. That's only happened like twice this whole year. I'm not saying that to be funny, comedic. um Amusing. It's just the reality of how distant all these people are from me. I'm telling you, I had some relatives. Every time I saw them, I go up and give them a hug. Now I have some relatives where I'm not even kidding. You could see them, and sometimes when you get back to wherever they stay at or whatever, they won't even look at you unless it's to tell you to go do something like take out the trash or where's the charger or whatever. They don't care. Well, they don't care. I told you everything is based on what you can do for me. Like, oh, can you get this thing from the store for me? Great. Can you pick this person up for me? Great. You take the trash out for me? Great. And even if you do all this nonsense, they'll still go and get upset with you over something else. Yeah, it's just hard to really gauge these people, because I'm honest with you when I say that it's like being on like pin needles, and no matter how much you may try to make things work or to otherwise not have stuff just like you know get worse, it's still never enough. I mean, here's a person who was complaining that I had bottles inside the shed, and then you take them out and put them outside, And they are pushed neatly up against the wall. They're all on top of each other. They're all. It's not like you have to step over these things to move around here, right? And they start complaining about that, talking about the possibility of rats and roaches outside. And I'm like, what you know, I swear to you, they make it sound like you put these bags outside for a few days and there's or a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and there's gonna be just this big giant bug empire that comes down in a little spaceship. It's so stupid, man. I'm telling you. Man, it's just it just can feel very impossible. That's all I'm gonna say. And I really do try as hard as I can to come on here and smile, at least pretend to be happy a little bit. But like I said, man, when you have people that just get mad at you over stupid stuff, like things that just don't matter, like dude, do you really think rats are gonna be like, tasty water bottle outside? Do you really believe that? No, you don't. And neither does the other person that's making this decree that you must have these specific type of closing up bags to put this stuff out here, because it's not about right, not about wrong. It's about power. How can I control you? How can I make you do what I want you to do? How can I make you bend to my will? And if I can't, then you need to get out of here. It's all about making someone do something that probably they don't need to do. That's really not that big of a deal, as far as if they didn't do it, the world would not end. There wouldn't be some big difference in how things happen over there. But because you're such a nitpicky person who has nothing better to do than complain about the stupidest of stuff, you'll indulge in the insanity. So it's a lose lose situation. You either store all the stuff somewhere else, um, and clog up space and whatever you're trying to do, or you go out and buy these $10 bags to get like $10 back from recycling. It's like I said, either, because remember they want you to zip it up, so it's going to be even harder to open them, and then that's why I say you just can't win. The whole thing is designed to be as unfair as possible. No, I just don't know what it'll take for these people to stop being so awful, man. I tell you. It's like at every turn there's just they just come up with new stuff to be obnoxious over. It never stops. and I'm almost out of things to say. I don't know. It's just I'm trying as hard as I can to get hired somewhere. Um, it's it's been very aggravating, and there it seems to show no signs of stopping. But like I said, we're constantly done in by just being around a group of people who are almost always just having a problem with something. They're upset over this. They're angry about that. They're mad at you because of, insert reason here. I mean, you just get tired of it. You're like, how can people be this angry over nothing every single day? And like, even with the employers, I sit back and I'm like, I can go to these interviews and I can smile and I can try to like, state the same old stuff. You're available whenever they need you, et cetera, et cetera. This is why you want the job. Da, 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 da. And even with all of that, you still just cannot get them to ever pull the trigger in terms of like, hey, let's actually give this person a chance. Let's actually give them a shift that allows them to take care of themselves. They won't do it. And then you've got this parasite in the corner, right? 300 every month from this person. And at the same time as they're demanding that you give them this amount of money, what are they doing for you? Damn near nothing. They have you run an errand to go go drive over somewhere that's 30 miles to and back. They don't give you 1 cent for gas. I mean, they don't care. They don't care to do anything but run their mouth. That's their entire life is just this, just talking, just flapping their gums all day long, every day. I'm sick of it. They want you to do everything for them while doing absolutely nothing for you. How does that make any sense? Yeah, they have some people up here, so it's getting a little bit louder and noisier. I mean, whatever. I had a feeling it would after I came up. You start seeing some stuff from people that maybe isn't as appealing to you. Okay, why? I don't know why that person is just parked over there in a driveway or drive-through. Not drive-through, the way that you would come in. Jim, do you have anything else to add? Because I feel like I've done my part to here today. I'm just kind of at the end of my rope in a sense. Anything left? Let me know if you have any further comments or statements to make. Because I don't want to leave you hanging. I don't want to leave you like that job left me when I applied for them and they said we would like to hire you and have you, and they had me fill all that paperwork, and then after you fill out the paperwork they ghost you for a few days and then tell you that they've decided not to move forward with your hiring process. That still is one of the most obnoxious encounters I've ever had with any employer at all. Just the idea that you would do all that for them, and then they were still like back on that same site begging for somebody to start working for them a couple of um, a couple of months later. Right, 'cause I spoke to them in April, and then that happened probably that reappearance happened probably in like September, August. That's why I said this whole thing is just insane. Like sitting here and having to deal with these people who are constantly upset over something, constantly angry about something, and even as you try to navigate it, right? Like I remember this person was like, "Oh, I'm upset that you have stuff in the back of your car, whatever, like the back seat." Like, okay, whatever. So then you move it in like into that back part of the place that nobody uses, nobody sleeps there, nobody eats there, just an area that literally throughout the entire year no one could be bothered to give any type of concern about. And then somehow, because this one person decides to go back there to go dig for something, they see this stuff and then they throw a big stink over it. So in trying to solve one issue a certain way, you create a whole new issue that now needs to be solved in some alternate way or whatever. It's just that's why I said I'm tired of this, man. I'm tired of it. I don't know how many more weeks of this I can put up with, but I'm reaching my point of exhaustion because everything is made more difficult than it needs to be for really no reason other than to just people try to make you they're miserable, so they want you to be miserable too. The weather over here gets so it goes from being cold in the morning to like not even 2 hours later, and you just feel the heat wave. Oh, man. Well, anyways, Jem, I'm gonna get off of here because I've still got this other stuff I have to do, and I did end up having to get delayed. But look, I'll be back on Monday most likely. Um, so whatever we didn't get to touch here, we'll just wait until then. So thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. And you said you will overcome. I hope so because I've had about as much as I can take.